Hello, thanks for checking out another one of my videos. I'm Isaac Ostrom, and today I'm going to show you a demonstration and a review on a 60-inch bridge saw for cutting large tiles. We're starting to do a lot more large tiles like 24 by 48s, a lot of long planks going all the way up to 60 inches. I've seen 72s. So we're getting into doing these great big tiles, which always raises the question of how do we cut them. Regular table saws will cut up to maybe a 35-inch tile or 36-inch tile with a straight rip. This baby will do a 60-inch tile. So I'm going to show you how it works, the features, the pros, the cons, and I hope you guys get something out of it. Thank you. When you get into the larger tiles, they've come out with these bridge saws, which have been around for a long time for cutting slabs for countertops, cutting granite and quartz countertops. But now they make these smaller bridge saws for cutting tiles because their tiles are getting so big. So as you can see, the tile is going to be stationary here. The motor is actually what moves. So you got a handle here to push and pull the blade across the tile as it spins to cut the tile. So that's the basic premise. Here's some of the features of the saw. As you can see, we've got a 24 by 48 inch tile on the table. We have this locking mechanism which secures the tile down into place so that it doesn't vibrate and move around on the table. We have a pretty heavy duty bar right here with measurements on it that's going to make the tile lay square to that table. A nice moving head. We have chop action up and down. You see the blades rolling right on it. It does give you a handy laser line so you can see where it's going to be cutting. So we got up and down, we got push, we got pull. Another cool feature here, if I can zoom out enough, is that it will do a miter. If you loosen this up, you can flip the whole head, so now that we can do our miter cuts. Again, we got the same action, push and pull, chop action with a miter. Up on top, you can see we got some stoppers. If we have some stop points that we want to stop the blade at, it'll stop right there, not go past. Got measurements to do that. We got our on and off buttons there, so make sure the blade's off the ground. It's going to start it. Pretty quiet saw. Start kicking the water up here pretty quick. There's the water feed. And we got our stop button. We have a lock here that will lock it in place as far as the chop action if we wanted to. Since we've been using it free. So you just guide it and you chop it. It's also helpful when you get to the end that if you come to the end and start to avoid splitting tiles at the very end. There we go with that. Around the front here, you can also see here's our motor and our feed. Without a tile on there, this is actually pretty easy to lift up. I can probably still do it. You can see also with if you move the saw head back, you can actually lift this up if you need to get to the water pump or the drain plug. So it looks pretty heavy, but it's actually pretty nice and portable. It also, I'll show you the wheels on the bottom. So it also has some wheels down here which are easy to transport it, to move it from point to point. Okay, so I got my tile set on the table. This is again 24 by 48 inch porcelain tile, about 7/16 inch thick. It's a hard porcelain tile. What I did is I went ahead and measured. I took my measurement off of this end, and I have 6 5/8. I took my measurement off this end, 6 5/8. And so, that being said, I should just be able to set it up, turn it on, rip it, and cut it straight. The mark of a good saw, obviously, is that it cuts straight. So let's see what it does. Okay, so now that the cut's done, let's check it out. I have 6 5/8 over here, and I got 6 5/8, so I have a perfect rip here. Okay, so as far as the straight rip cutting, it's dead on. I mean, it's not even a 32nd 64 off. That sucker just ripped straight, and also we were able to, at the very end, you saw I lifted up the blade and set it down so that it didn't blow out at the end of the cut. That's really nice with the chop action. You can really control it. I love that feature. So for the straight cuts, I would give this a thumbs up. I'd say this is a great saw. Okay, so now that we've tested the straight cuts, I would like to test out the miter cut. So I've done the same thing. I've measured off both ends to make sure that the blade is cutting lined up square. So I'm going to turn it on the miter and see how it cuts. Show you the results. So I'm not as thrilled about the miter as I am the straight cut. I bought this saw in part because I wanted to do mitered finished edges with the tile, and it's still going to take some playing around. It didn't cut perfectly straight, and I'm going to show you that right now. As you can see, I put our straight cut. This tile is cut in a perfectly straight line, so that's a square. You see that line? It cut good, and you can see it starts to bow out. I corrected it a little bit, and then as I got down here to the end, I lifted it up and plunged it, and you can see how far the blade had traveled, and then it got back good again. So you can see the miter, without any manipulation, any pressing on the blade, it was good for about half of the tile, and then it started to drift. When I corrected it, that's what it did. So that is probably, I don't know, I'm guessing about a 1/16 of an inch at the widest part, which isn't great. So that part's going to take some work. So just to recap, this saw here, which is about a I think I paid $2,300 for it. So it's a pretty expensive piece of equipment. You can buy a DeWalt tile saw out of the tile shops for about $700 or $800, which will do most everything that you need to cut with tile once you get up to about 36 inches. So this is a significant investment. I love it for the straight cuts, doing plunge cuts, and if you're doing shower walls, there's always going to be niches that you need to cut around. It's just going to be impossible to do with the DeWalt. Well, I don't want to say impossible, but it's going to be very difficult. So if you are going to be planning on using the 24 by 48 tiles, maybe the 18 by 36s, I would definitely recommend getting this saw if you're going to do a lot of it. The miter action, which in part I did buy this saw for, I'm not thrilled about. And again, this is only the second time I've ran this saw, so I haven't played with it enough to give a final verdict on that. But it's not going to be as simple as just running that miter down and it cutting a perfect line as I had hoped. But it's definitely going to be workable. We will be able to do miter cuts with it. It's just I'm sure we're going to either have to be pushing on the blade or somehow manipulating the blade to keep it in a straight line. Because as that blade is spinning and it's at a 45, it wants to push as it comes down the tile, especially with a real thick porcelain tile like this, real dense product. If it was a ceramic or if it was a natural stone like a travertine, I'm sure it would be a lot easier. So again, I hope that this helped you out. Before you go and buy a bridge saw like this, I hope I gave you enough information to give you an educated guess on if you should buy it or not. Anytime you're buying new tools, especially when they get over $1,000 into the $2,000 range, it's a leap of faith of some sort. You're thinking, oh, I really want this, but should I get it? Do I have enough work to justify buying this tool? I remember when I went for my first MK, which we were cutting 12-inch tiles, and you couldn't even rip a 12-inch tile on a diagonal. Then we went to the 18 by 18s on diagonal was real popular, so I stepped up to the Target XL. And I remember making that jump. I remember thinking, well, I can still manipulate the saw to make it work. It was, real slow, but is everybody going to keep doing these 18-inch tiles on diagonal? And yes, sure enough, we did it for about 5 years. Almost every floor we did was like that. And that's kind of what I see where it's going with the larger tiles. Tiles are just getting bigger, and I'm sure I'm going to get enough use out of this tile saw to justify. But I hope it helps if you're thinking about getting into buying one of these saws. At least you saw somebody use it and heard about it. So again, please click like if you like this video. Hit subscribe. Again, I'm going to try to bring you new videos every week. And rock on, guys. You guys are awesome. You're worth it. And go get your money, man.